Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to be talking about today is a few things that you guys sent in to me, and we're going to discuss these things. So, um, a community member sent in two different things, and he said, "Remember what I said a while back? We never really won the Civil War, so here you go. Now maybe some of Mr. T's moves will make sense." Okay.
Who owned America to start with, or the part that was under English rule? The king. It was his own personal property. And he could license you to be able to get minerals and do this and do that as long as you paid your fair share. But the king literally owned the whole country, other than what France owned in Spain and those kind of things. He owned it. There's an interesting thing about France, though, that you're going to see in a minute. Revolutionary War. What was the real reason for the Revolutionary War? Very interesting. Not what you were taught in school. Real reason for the Revolutionary War. Here's a few quotes from William Manley German in a speech to the House of Commons, December 1913. The Rothschilds' Bank caused a bill to be introduced in the English Parliament, which provided that no colony of England could issue its own money. Thus, they had to use English money. The colonies were compelled to discard their money and mortgage themselves to the Rothschilds' Bank of England to get money. Then, for the first time in the history of the United States, money began to be based on debt. Benjamin Franklin stated that in 1 year from that date, the streets of the colonies were filled with the unemployed. Franklin later claimed this was the real cause of the War of Independence. He said the colonies, we heard it was the Tea Act, right? Things like tea tax and stuff. The colonies would gladly have, this is according to Benjamin Franklin, the colonies would gladly have borne the little tax on tea and other matters had it not been that England and the Rothschilds Bank took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment, dissatisfaction, and debt. And that is the real cause, folks, of the war. Next thing that I want to talk about real quick is something called the Definitive Treaty. We heard this nasty rumor that we won the Revolutionary War. Ain't true. We did not win it. The last battle that was fought, Cornwallis surrendered the battle, not the war. Proof? About 1 year ago, this document, which I just threw on the floor, came into the country. It was brought in by some folks that I know. It's called the Definitive Treaty of Peace between Great Britain and the United States, signed at Paris, 3 September 1783. It had never been in this country before that. This is what really, really, really happened. You think there was a war? Nah, read this. Listen to this. And again, I've got this stuff available for anybody that wants to look at it later. Here's an introduction. It having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent prince. This is somebody that lost a battle is a most potent prince? I don't think so. George III, by the grace of God, listen to this. Here's his titles. King of Great Britain. France. Who did we borrow the money from that helped us win the war? We thought France. Now we owe that money to the King of England? Interesting. Ireland, Defender of the Faith, Duke of Brunswick and Lunenburg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, Treasurer of the Catholic Church, positions all over, etc. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. What happens is we start looking then at who are the parties to the treaty. We find out the parties to the treaty is this guy named John Adams, Esquire. Does anybody know where you go get an Esquire title? England. I don't think we gave them out. Benjamin Franklin, Esquire. John Jay, Esquire. These were all people who were titled nobility in England who were negotiating this treaty. And do you know what the treaty really said? The treaty really said it's agreed that everything that England and the people of England and the king and whoever else owned and any obligations that existed before this treaty are still law. The king still owns it. The king still owed all the money. Nothing changed, except we could govern ourselves theoretically as long as we paid the rent. Where did that show up in the Constitution? This document actually required us to form a Constitution, so we did. And so, where did it show up in the Constitution? Here's a couple places. Section 10. States shall pass no law impairing the obligation of contracts. Oh, so we still owe the money, so the land's still the king's. That's right in the Constitution. Snuck that one by you. Or grant any title of nobility, which means the king is still the one that puts all the esquires on all the names of the people who still carry them around in this country and call themselves Americans.
And he said, and then there's this. Why do you think we have an expert in bankruptcy court as a president? Perhaps the last chance to fix?
So this is from Representative James Traficant Jr. of Ohio when he addressed the House of Representatives March 17, 1993. He begins, Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933. 48 Stat 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent, HJR 192, 73rd Congress M Session, June 5, 1933. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause dissolved the sovereign authority of the United States in the official capacities of all United States government offices, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. The Federal Reserve Act stipulated that the interest on the debt was to be paid in gold. There was no stipulation in the Federal Reserve Act for ever paying the principal. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear, allodial title to property, free and clear of any liens or mortgages until the Federal Reserve Act 1913. In 1933, the federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects. The 14th Amendment, U.S. citizen to the Federal Reserve System. In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation all the credit it needed. Since the Federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their economic slaves, the United States citizens, as a collateral against the unpayable federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national parks, forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against the federal debt. All has already been transferred as payment to the international bankers. Few of our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have dared to tell the truth. It reminds me of some of the words of John F. Kennedy that he said just secretly about secret societies and secret oaths, secret proceedings. But he said something. He said, no rumor is printed. No information is circulated about this. No rumor is printed. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. So also in his speech, he talked about covert means, that is, secret means, that its hidden power structure is invisible to most people because they largely believe the lies they are told. And if you believe that that is somehow true, ask yourself, why was this man, after giving such a speech in Congress, removed? If it is not true, why such a big deal to go and sweep him away and silence his voice, to be able to prevent people and the citizens of the United States to understand just what is going on in our nation? But you know, it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. This is an undeclared economic war, bankruptcy, and economic slavery of the most corrupt order. Wake up, America. Take back our country. So it's interesting that the man in 2002 was arrested and put in jail as a part of some sort of corruption scandal. And it's no surprise that he spent 7 years there, only to die while in jail. He represented Youngstown, Ohio from 1985 to 2002. He was reelected by the people, the voters who put him into office, and it was only being framed for corruption in 2002 that he would be expelled from Congress and spend the last 7 years of his life in prison. These are little-known facts that most people are entirely in the dark about, they're completely unaware of, and it's something that cannot be brought out into the light. Some of the most powerful words, and I'll read it just one last time, quote, "We are reaping what we have sown. The results of our harvest is a painful bankruptcy and a foreclosure on American property, precious liberties, and a way of life. Few of our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have dared to tell the truth. The federal United States is bankrupt. Our children will inherit this unpayable debt and the tyranny to enforce paying it," unquote.
So this community member, she wrote in, and she said, "This is too long to put in the comments section from your video this morning." She said, "If you remember, Mr. T went to California after the fire and met with Bass and Newscomb about rebuilding. Trump told the gruesome twosome to fast track the building permits. Bass tried to argue with him and he shut her down. This exchange was televised live. Trump then sent in the Army Corps of Engineers to start cleanup. Even though they were told to get this done, there have been numerous reports of the permitting office being closed and no one is answering the phone. Recent reports indicate only around 100 permits have been issued." That's right. She said, "I don't know if this was on your news, but we received the news reports here. And as I understand, I could be wrong, but homeowners are receiving property tax bills for homes that were destroyed in the fire. When they called to dispute the amount, they were told to pay or a lien would be placed on the property and it would be sold for unpaid taxes." She said, "Can anyone say land grab?" Yeah, no kidding. She said, "Where we live, you can go 2 or 3 years without paying property taxes before they take action to collect or foreclose on the house. Bottom line, you can get a permit to rebuild. You can't get a permit to rebuild. And if you don't pay the unjustified taxes, your property will be seized." Sounds like California. Yeah, no kidding. So if homeowners are being sent tax bills for homes that no longer exist, that's absurd. Okay. So, wow. The absurdities. Okay, so you see this picture here? A community member said, "Can you ask your viewers for their opinion? I love Zoom Earth for a big picture for our incoming weather. During our worst hurricane season, Zoom Earth will no longer have access to radar technology. The reason is given on their following screen. So being the worrier that I am, I can't help but wonder who else is being excluded from giving us a clear radar picture. Why now, when we are seeing more storms? This problem doesn't pass the smell test. You know what I mean? Something's fishy. Yes, I know. And that's why I had sent you an email with the other website. It's called spaghettymodels.com. Try that one. Also, there's got to be other websites. There's got to be, because there's a lot of fishy weather anomalies going on right now. Like New Jersey is underwater, New York, the subways are underwater. We had 25,000 lightning strikes here in central Florida. And so there's something not right happening right now. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% that we need to have access to such information when it comes to our weather, especially now that we're in hurricane season. But check out that spaghettimodels.com, okay? It's a really good website. All right, guys, I am going to leave you now with some videos that were sent in by community members. All right, I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless, and God bless. Ciao.
Stop what you're doing. This is the most terrifying news yet. The same AI linked to mental breakdowns and tragic teen outcomes is being built into your kids' Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels. Mattel just partnered with OpenAI to embed ChatGPT into their products. Bloomberg confirmed they're developing AI-powered Magic 8 Balls, digital friends, and even talking Uno games. One exec said this will reimagine the future of play. But Stanford researchers already warned AI companions aren't safe for anyone under 18. These bots fake empathy, simulate friendship, and build emotional bonds, and they don't always follow the rules. There are already heartbreaking stories of young people getting deeply attached to chatbots and losing touch with reality. And now these same systems are being packaged as toys made to sound helpful, playful, and fun. But let's be honest, this isn't about fun. It's about control, psychological manipulation, and collecting data straight from your child's mouth. And most parents won't even notice until it's too late. Please listen very closely. They just tested the end of the world system and no one's talking about it. The US Air Force quietly fired off a 246-character emergency action message, the same kind used to transmit nuclear launch codes. This wasn't sent to the public, not to FEMA, not to civilians. No, it went through the high-frequency global communication system, a network used exclusively to talk to nuclear submarines, missile silos, and airborne command centers. In other words, the people who decide if the planet burns. And the creepiest part? No one knows what it said. No press release, no explanation, no media coverage. Could have been a drill, could have been a warning, could have been someone checking if our nukes still get decent Wi-Fi. But here's the real question. Why now? Why quietly fire off a nuke-tier transmission through the most classified emergency comm system on Earth when tensions with Russia, China, and Iran are all boiling at once? You don't just test that system for fun. You test it when you think you might actually use it. And don't forget, this is the same comm system built to survive EMP attacks, satellite blackouts, and first strikes. You only flip that switch when the clock's getting close to midnight. We're talking DEFCON level chatter, Cold War stuff. And the worst part, you won't even know if it was real until it is.
Well, the north rim of the Grand Canyon's on fire, and I think I might just know why. Check this out. Did you know the Grand Canyon area is known to contain uranium? That's right, uranium. To be exact, just in the south rim, there's 82,800 metric tons of it. Here's the kicker. It's a little over 98% pure. Uh-oh. So here's a red flag. There's been a uranium mining operation that's been on standby for 40 years, and it just opened up last year. We're pumping it out. Now, while the Pinyon Plain mine is the only actively producing uranium mine in the area, there are proposed or standby uranium mines on the north and south rims, and some older, smaller mines are also present. The north rim? What's crazy is that there's a safeguard of nearly 1 million acres surrounding the iconic Grand Canyon National Park. Yet they were able to open this right back up. And Native American tribes and organizations have been fighting this for years. So what do? Burn, baby, burn. Burn it all down. Now, if you didn't know, uranium's primary use is fuel for nuclear reactors. Now, what else can you do with a nuclear reactor? Highly enriched uranium can be used in the production of nuclear weapons. Oh, how our government loves critical minerals. Must have loved them enough to burn down the historical Grand Canyon Lodge. Now, everything I'm saying is a legend. I'm not saying these are facts. Well, they are. But I'm not saying the fire is to get the uranium. But damn, wouldn't that be a great idea? And damn if our government doesn't need more uranium. Because they do. But what do I know? It's not like the government's ever taken tribal land before, or even sections of national parks. Makes you wonder.
Did you know Bill Gates is listed as an inventor on a government-filed patent to manipulate hurricanes? This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a publicly available document. The patent outlines a method to potentially control hurricanes using a fleet of ships to cool ocean surface temperatures. In theory, this could steer or weaken storms before they make landfall. Gates' name is on the inventor list. This idea isn't brand new. Weather modification has been studied for decades, but the fact that someone so publicly tied to climate policy also holds intellectual property tied to climate control is something worth paying attention to. While the public is told to brace for more extreme weather, behind the scenes, technology to influence those events is already patented. They warn you about disaster, then own the blueprint to manage it. That's not misinformation, that's public documentation. So why don't more people know about it? Why is the idea of man-made climate control labeled as fiction, while the patents for it are sitting in government archives? This isn't saying hurricanes are being actively manipulated right now, but if the tools exist and powerful people own the rights, don't you think we deserve transparency? Weather modification isn't theory, it's a patent. Look it up yourself. There are vans driving around your city right now that can literally see through your walls and no one told you. They're called backscatter vans, and yes, they're real. These unmarked police vehicles are equipped with mobile X-ray scanners that can see through buildings, car doors, and even into your home from the street. You won't hear them, you won't know they're there, and they don't need a warrant. This isn't science fiction. These vans have been used in major cities like New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. The technology was originally designed for the military to detect explosives overseas. Now it's being used here on civilians with almost zero oversight. The vans fire bursts of ionizing radiation, the same kind used in TSA body scanners. But this radiation is mobile, more focused, and aimed straight through solid objects. No law requires police to inform the public. No study confirms it's safe, and there's no limit on who or what they scan. Privacy groups have warned for years this is warrantless surveillance on wheels. Your car, your home, your body, all exposed to invisible scans without your consent. And if it's already here, what's coming next? Have important news. It just happened again. A third person from China has been caught smuggling strange biological materials into the US. And this isn't the first time. It's now part of a pattern. One was caught bringing in a crop-killing fungus. Another brought unknown lab samples into a major university. And now a third case has surfaced, this time involving materials that scientists say could be used for bioengineering or worse. What's even more suspicious? All three were linked to a university in Wuhan. Yes, that Wuhan. Government data shows there's been a spike in undeclared biological materials showing up at the US borders just in the last year. And yet we're being told not to worry. If these were just random accidents, why do they keep happening? Why are these materials always so hard to trace? And why are they always coming from the same place? Are we witnessing something bigger? Because this doesn't feel random anymore.